Good morning, everyone. Sunday morning. Yes, Sunday. HHV the Judge on a Sunday. Well, I'll tell you why it is, because it's Arc Day. Good morning and happy Arc Day, Judge.
Good morning, Simon. What a race it is, actually, isn't it? I mean, the Arc. I go back to the old Dancing Brave days and horses like that. So there's been some good winners of the Arc.
Yeah, well, you obviously go back a lot longer than me. I mean, I think 2 years ago would have been when I left school. Would have been my first one. But yes,
yeah, I believe you.
I go back to Rebo and Seabird and all them in the 50s. Right. It is a fabulous renewal, I believe, of the world's, 1 mile 4 middle distance world championship, really. Forget your Saudis and forget your Breeders' Cups. This is the world championship race. Right, let's have a look. I will quickly go through the betting, then we'll go through them in little sections. Now, we have a solid favourite in number 13, Ace Impact, the unbeaten colt. He's 11-4 best price with Betfred, Sky Bet, and William Hill. And just one thought off the bat, the vagaries of anti-post punting. Some people, Judge, have been betting this horse at 2-1 for months. And here he is on the day. He's actually there. He's got his ground. And you could have got 11-4. Right, but there you go. If you're on him anti-post, you'll be kicking yourself. If he wins, you still win. Westover is second favourite, joint second favourite. The British horse with Hookham, the other British horse. They are both 7-1 joint second favourites. Then we've got Fantastic Moon and Continuous, the Ledger winner, at 9s. Feed the Flame at 10s. Through 7 Seas at 11s. And then we start with the outsiders with Bay Bridge for Richard Kingscott and Sir Michael Stout, 16s. Free Wind for Frankie in his final arc at 20s. Place to Carousel, 25s. Honesto, 28. Simca Mile, 28. And then the big outsiders, Mr. Hollywood himself, 66-1. And then the two rags, Sisyphan, 125s. And Higher Zark. Now, I'm going to start with these 4 outsiders, Higher Zark, Sisyphan, Mr. Hollywood, and Simca Mile. Can we dismiss them out of hand, Judge?
I think it's dangerous to dismiss these German horses at those silly prices. I know the going is where everyone says it's like good to soft, but it's good. In my opinion, it's going to be near a good to firm. We're certainly
exactly. Yeah, we can agree on that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I thought the actual funny one out the outsiders was Mr. Hollywood. He hasn't finished too far behind a few of the horses here who've got like Fantastic Fox and horses like that. And I think at 66s, he's not one to be dismissed too lightly. But I'd be a case of like I wouldn't back any of them too much, but I certainly wouldn't put anyone off having a couple of quid on one of them hitting the frame.
Yeah, Mr. Hollywood could be the one of the outsiders. 66-1 you can get with Bet365. His form ties in with some horses at much shorter prices.
Yeah.
Right, let's look at the next 4. So we've got Ernesto at 28s, Plasto Carousel at 25s, and then the two very interesting English horses, Free Wind and Bay Bridge. Now, I think Ernesto's quite interesting here at 28.
Yeah.
And I will tell you why, he said, clicking the button which is supposed to come on straight away. There we are. Now, he finished 10th in this last year. Now, you would think, right, he's had his go in this. He's not up to it. But I think he's a much better horse this year. If you watch the replay last year, basically everything that could go wrong goes wrong. I thought he ran really well when he won the Grand Prix de Paris, which is a decent guide for this race. And he's clearly an inconsistent horse, Judge. But when he clicks this horse, he can run some really, really top performances and to top marks. And I thought at 28-1, he was the type of horse who I could quite easily see being third here and having a nice tasty each way profit. Now, it's all price condition because he does run the occasional stinker, including in this race last year. Now, horses that are inconsistent, I'm quite prepared to take a chance if they're about 28-1. If he's 6-1, I'd leave him. He runs too many shockers. But on his day, and he has won the Grand Prix de Paris, a good guide for this, I think he can run to some serious marks. So what do you think, Ernesto? Is he one of the livelier outsiders?
He is, to be fair. Yeah, he's not one I've knocked out, put it that way, at that price. I'm not too sure about the draw for Plasto Carousel. Once again, he's it's not the realms of impossibility for a very shrewd trainer that Andre Fabre knows how to train the winner of this race. But I thought funny enough, out of those particular runners that we talked about, I quite like the chance of Frankie last ride on Free Wind. Last time out, She came second in the Yorkshire Oaks, and arguably she should have won. Warm Hearts come out of that race and won the Group 1 since. Blue Stocking admittedly got beat, but Sea Silk Road, who was a well-beaten fifth, won on the cards yesterday. I don't know if it's a Group 1 or Group 2 there yesterday. So I thought that was a funny price, actually, free win.
Do you know that Frankie's won the Arc 6 times? You know, when we look back at his career, to win the World Championship 1 mile 4 race, obviously he's had great rides over the years, but 6 times, what a record.
Yeah, it'd be funny if he finishes it with a magnificent 7, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, definitely, yeah. So I think that's a big price. You're right, big price that free win. Run to some serious high levels of form. I can't see it winning, but I can see him being in the 4. And of course, just to say that, across the board, the firms are going 4 places, with the exception of Skybet, who are going 5. So, you know, these big prices, they can, you know, it's like a golfer when I suggest them each way and they finish, and there's 6, 7 places. I always say, you know, they might go absolutely nowhere near winning it and still copy some money. Free win could finish 4th, you know, soundly beaten, and you've got a 4-1 place win, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Obviously stating the bleeding obvious there. So that's free wind, who we both think's got a squeak. Now, Bay Bridge. I have to say Bay Bridge has been something of a disappointment this year. I know he did win last time, but he's ran 4 times this year. This was supposed to be his big year, wasn't it, as a 5-year-old? He was sort of given in all the lists to follow, and I think he's been a disappointment. Now, the fact that they've come here, Stouty doesn't ever send anything unless he thinks he's got a serious squeak in this. And also, is he better at 1 mile too? Am I right? I'm going to dismiss Bay Bridge. What do you think?
It's funny, you know, like you get the Grand National things, you get like cut them down to the like 5 runners and 4 runners or whatever. Actually, this batch of horses have all got a bit of a squeak on their own bits of form, haven't they? You know, you could make a case for him. He's one you could once again make a case for, but I've got to be honest, he's not got the profile for me of a horse that should be winning an Arc. That's more to the point. But, you know, he is 16-1 or whatever out there, and, you know, if he was to win, I wouldn't be surprised, but he's not for me, to be honest. I don't really like the prep.
Yeah. No, he's 5 now. He won at Kempton last time at the trip. Yeah. But all I'd say is Stouty's always believed that 1 mile 2 is his best trip. Very hard to win an Arc at what is not your best trip. And if 1 mile 4 is suddenly his best trip, why the hell haven't they been running him at it for the first 3 years of his career?
Well,
that's what I'd say about Bay Bridge. Watch him go and hack up now. Right, let's go through the next now. Are we getting interested now? I want to look at the next 4 horses. We'll do them in order of outsider to shortener. And we'll start with Through 7 Seas, the ride of Christophe Lemaire. What do we think about this one, Judge?
Yeah, I think she's got a very good chance, to be fair. I mean, if you look at the run behind Equinox, and Equinox thrashed Westover earlier on in the year, and I mean, obviously that's shorter in the betting. I know it's a stereotype. Once again, these Japanese horses normally like to run on the faster ground. I can see her running very well, to be honest.
Yeah, I can as well. And just to sort of make a point about the race from my notes, there are people who are doing, obviously everyone's doing an Arc preview, but this, of course, would be the best one. People saying that it lacks the superstar quality of other Arcs. Possibly what, in terms of ratings of the horses, what I will say is, I don't think I've ever seen a more competitive Arc where you can make a really strong case for probably 8 horses. I don't think we've ever gone through Arcs, or certainly in my long and indistinguished career, where I've gone like, do you know what? I've got 10 horses on this shortlist. Usually I've got 3 with an Arc. I've got a big outsider and 1 or 2 of the jolly first or second favourites. But this is a horse that you can make a very, very strong case for Through 7 Seas. And you're right, that form line with Equinox, really, you've got to say, is probably one of the top 2 or 3 performances of anything that comes into this race. So at double figure odds, Through 7 Seas is very interesting. Christophe Lemaire is as good as anyone around here. Very, very interesting contender at a best price 11-1, 4 places. I think that's a serious tasty each way bet. We then come to Christophe Soumillon's ride, Feed the Flame. Now, Feed the Flame has been very strong in the bet in the last couple of days, Judge, and is the sort of tip of a lot of the shrewder cookies each way. So what do you think of this one?
Well, I'd like to say I'm one of them shrewder cookies. He is my selection
You'd like
for the
to
race,
say
to be fair. Perhaps I've eaten a few cookies in my time, but
yeah, haven't we all, mate? Haven't we all?
But for me, he has got a very nice profile for this race. You know, early season winning at the track. Last time out, I thought it was very much a prep in mind for this race. I think you're going to mention a horse later on that you're going to come to.
That ties in nicely.
He does tie in nicely. He was 1-2 favourite to beat Fantastic Moon on his last start. I think it was a slowly run, sort of typical French type race, whereas I can't see this one being a slowly run. And I can see him staying on strongly. So for me, he would be the main bet in the race, even though we'll get to our final synopsis at the end. But he would be my main bet in the race, Feed the Flame.
So the judges' selection is Feed the Flame. Now get your live price with that. The two bookies you want to go to are Bet365 and William Hill, who will give you 10-1 on Feed the Flame. And I think that is a serious value. And I'll come to why very, very shortly. But firstly, we've got to deal with the chances of the Ledger winner, Continuous, at 9-1. I'll just give you a stat from Coolmore, and that on 4 other occasions, they have brought an impressive Ledger winner to the Arc. And they have won the Arc a grand total of sod all with those 4. So every time a horse wins the Ledger, sometimes very easily, a case is built to supplement it for the Arc. And looking at those stats, Judge, I'm going to make a prediction that Ledger winners, for whatever reason, is it too close to the race? Have they just got not enough tactical speed? Are very, very poor when they come and try it. Can Continuous talk me round? Is he different to the others that have tried and failed?
To be fair, going into the Ledger, I was worried about him getting the trip, so I can't be sort of hypocritical here and say. I mean, he did show a decent bit of pace in the Ledger to get clear, didn't he? I just don't like Ledger winners for races like this personally, especially when you've got to take, was it about 8-1 it? I mean, normally when you get Ledger winners for this type of race, you normally find they're out there about 20-1, don't you? 16s, 20s. I think he should be twice the price he is, but I don't think he'd be good enough to win. I did think they probably had another 1 or 2 horses lined up for this, and it hasn't made it on the day. And I think this is a little bit more of an afterthought myself.
I just don't think he's quick enough. I thought he was a good winner of a poor Ledger, but
I think that's a fair comment.
I've seen winners of much stronger Ledgers who are more impressive, who've got higher top speeds, higher RP ratings, higher whatever what you want to say, have come here and have not been able to compete in this race. I think you need pace and you need lots and lots of turn of foot. And Ledger winners are often won by gallopers. So I'm going to run the risk of being caught out here, and I'm going to stick a line through Continuous and Ryan Moore. But please don't tell him he's not the happiest guy anyway, is he? You don't want to start telling him he slagged his horses off. Right, we'll come next to my selection in capital letters. Number 14, Fantastic Moon. And I will go first here, Judge, if you'll allow me that privilege. Now, Fantastic Moon, I think, comes here with the best recent form, and that is the beating of Judge's selection last time in the Prix-Niel. Now, this horse was supplemented on Wednesday. He beat Feed the Flame, which I think the Prix-Niel is the best Arc trial, certainly was this year. And he also won the German Derby. He's unbeaten at this middle distance. He's an extremely fast horse, but he stays as well. And he's one of those few horses, if you watch the German Derby again and watch the Prix-Niel, he's one of those few horses, those top horses who can quicken twice. Very, very rare at this level. So he can quicken to get the lead. If something comes at him, he can quicken again. It's not going to be easy today, but I am astonished in this days of bookmakers like yesterday, disgracefully at the Cambridgeshire, betting to about 150% across the ring in one of the great disgraces of modern racing. Absolute shocker. In these days of people moaning about bookmakers, quite rightly, I cannot believe that Fantastic Moon is 9-1 4 places. I will be staggered. Of course, it's racing. Anything can go wrong. I'll be staggered, Judge, if he's not in the 4. And I think he's got an outstanding chance of going 3 from 3 over 1 mile 4. He isn't drawn brilliantly. That's my only slight concern. But he's drawn all right, and he's drawn near Ace Impact, and he's drawn near the good horses. Like I say, he can quicken, he can settle, and if it comes to a battle between him and Westover and Hookham, the two what I would call gallopers, I think he'll have too much toe for them later on. I think it's an outstanding bet. I think this horse is going to win at 9-1. Fantastic Moon. Have I gone crazy, Judge?
No, you're not gone crazy at all. I think it's got a very, very good chance. But like I say, the reason I like the idea of Feed the Flame, like I say, was Feed the Flame was a much shorter price when they met. I don't think he had the run of the race, and I think he's got, and I think I've got a better draw. That is the only negative really for the horse. I mean, you're coming into the race with an excellent profile. These German horses are nearly always undercut, sort of under bet, if you like. That's why I did mention Mr. Hollywood, because he wasn't far behind your selection on previous run. So that one is a big price at 66s. But definitely, mate, you're on to a horse that should be there or thereabouts, is what I would say.
Yeah, there we go. Fantastic Moon, my selection, and Feed the Flame. The judges 9-1 with Bet365 and 888 Sport is the place to go. Actually, if you're going to do them both, you can do it all in one stop there in the Stoke Mob, because the judges Feed the Flame is 10-1. Right, let's take care of the top 3 in the bet, and we've got the admirable Hookham, the careful how you say it, the King George winner. We got Westover, both at 7-1. Let's deal with them now. Hookham is a horse who seems to be certainly on the book having his best ever year and improving still, or has he run in inferior runnings of races, run to the same mark he's done before and just started to win them? That's the other argument. So has Hookham not improved? Has he been very cleverly placed and ran in inferior runnings? I'm not so sure. I think he's a really tough horse, but he's never struck me as a likely Arc winner.
No, I mean, obviously you would think King George winners would have an excellent chance in the Arc. But there's a couple of things here. I'm worried about the draw. You've got to be drawn that wide.
Yeah.
Once again, we're getting down. Don't forget, you're getting down to the prizes now. Second favourites here. I'm worried about the draw. I am actually worried about the going as well, because I do think this is going to be probably nearly the quickest this horse has been running on. And let's be honest, that King George was a war of attrition. The two of them had really hard races there. And if there's any kind of mark for a race like this, I think they've got a lot to prove. I think with all that in mind, you just talked about your horse a minute ago, which is a bigger prize. You've got one negative. I think you've got sort of 2 or 3 minor negatives here that add up to the fact I can't be backing this horse at that price.
Yeah, and we go on to the horse that he had the huge gut-wrenching battle with, and that's Westover, also 7-1. Now, Westover was 6 in the Arc last year. Comes here 7-1. Had his best year so far. Second, first, second. I wonder if the ground might be too quick for him to show his very best.
Yeah, because he's potentially got the best draw in one, but I wonder if he's got the pace to actually make the use of it.
On quick ground. On quick ground, I'm not sure he's fast enough.
It's pretty much the same feeling for him. So, I mean, look, he's probably the horse that you would mark the race around. You pretty much think he's going to run his race. He's pretty solid. But I don't, a bit like you, he hasn't got any kind of like wow factor, is he? He's been a good horse. He's a good, solid. I mean, you'd love to have him yourself, but I just can't have him as an Arc winner myself. I did fancy him for the King George. He got done by Hookham. Like I say, that was a great race. That's probably the race of the flat season. Certainly Group 1 race of the flat season. I might be playing it a little bit low, but they both had hard races. The ground is, he wouldn't want it as soft as it was last year, but it probably wouldn't want it as fast as it's going to be this year. And for me, once again, at the prices, I've got to have to be against him as well.
Yeah, which leaves one horse we've dismissed. Hookham and Westover, like you say. You got to remember, folks, this is the World Championship 1 mile 4 race. It is, undoubtedly. So they're all very good horses. I just don't think Westover and Hookham are slightly classy enough to win in that. I may be wrong. It has happened before. We now come to the Jolly. Ace Impact, like I said, he's 11-4. People have been backing him at 15-8 for about 6 weeks. He's 11-4 on the day, which doesn't mean he's weak and doesn't mean he's not fancied. I'm not suggesting that for a minute. I'm just saying the paucity of anti-post betting these days. Ace Impact, he comes here unbeaten. He's got a fantastic trainer. He's got an incredible jockey, Christian Demuro. You can't really knock his form. The only thing I'm against him for, Judge, is I'm not sure 1 mile 4. He needs to prove that's his best trip. And also, and this is no fault of the horse, he comes here in what I think is the most competitive arc I've ever seen. Like I said, I can make a decent case for 10 runners here, certainly to be in the shake-up. It is a huge ask to get me to get stuck into him at 5-2 when I've got 10 contenders. To me, this has got to be an each-way play race because it's so competitive. So he can run a great race here and be second. He can run his best ever race and be second. For me, it's not a win-bet race. I'm not going to come on here and say he's not got a massive chance. Of course he has. He's been talked about as a wonder horse all year. But he's got to prove he stays this trip. And I've got this nagging doubt, Judge, that he's a horse who's going to win over 1 mile 2, everything going. But I just think he might not get home because this is going to be not run like a French race. There's no point continuous being here and letting this be a dawdle. There's no point Westover or Hookham dawdling around. It's going to be a proper test. So I'm just because of that nagging doubt, I'm not playing Ace Impact, though. He could well be the wonder horse everybody says he is. I just wonder if that's going to be at 1 mile 2. What do you think?
Well, I think if there's one horse in this race that could blow it apart, it's this horse. I mean, it's unbeaten. It's done absolutely nothing wrong. He's looked very good every single run. I'm coming back to the Grand Prix de Jockey Club when Ace Impact won. And another reason why I like Feed the Flame. Feed the Flame was a much shorter price that day. He was nearly 3-1. And Ace Impact was 15-2. Sorry, 15 or 19-2. Can't even read from this distance. But so obviously that day, Feed the Flame was the horse that was fancied more. It's only got a few legs to find. But like you say, it's 1.25 miles. And I think this next time out, this is 1.5 miles. I think one horse is more likely to get the 1.5 miles better than the other. And at the relevant prices, once again, you've got to be where the value is. So for me, I'd have to be with Feed the Flame. And I just look, if Ace Impact wins, it wins. But like you just said, this is a race where you ought to have a couple of each way bets, especially 4 places, rather than going win only at 5-2. So that's the best way I would play it.
Right, folks, the race is at 3:05. It is my favourite race and flat race of the year by a mile. Yeah. It's going to be fantastic. I've never seen it as competitive. I'm all over Fantastic Mill. I think it's a fantastic bet, literally, and judges on Feed the Flame. The form line ties in. I wouldn't put you off a cheeky little forecast there, Judge.
Nor would I.
Not put you off there. And if Ace Impact's a wonder horse, we might all be playing for second. But if we are second, third, and fourth, we've still got a profit. If you believe Ace Impact is that wonder horse, you've got one chance of getting it right. He has to win for you at 11-4. And that, for me, is a major question mark. Enjoy the arc, folks. Enjoy it, Judge. I hope yours wins if mine doesn't, but so much more do I hope mine does. And I will see you tomorrow, mate.
Definitely, mate. Be lucky.
Be lucky, everyone.
Holdings. Horse.